Orange team.
Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I am Andrew.
Jesse. And Dan.
This is the Board Game Rundown. Today we are going to finally review a game we have talked about for years. Dan?
Yeah.
Blood on the Clocktower. Specifically, we have played the Trouble Brewing version, scenario.
Yeah, most people, unfortunately, have not been able to play the other two yet, so we will only be reviewing Trouble Brewing today, but that just gives us an excuse to make another Blood on the Clocktower video, so that's okay.
And honestly, though, right?
Without Mike here.
Yeah.
I think if you play Trouble Brewing and you like it, you're probably going to like the other scenarios, at least enough to want to play them.
Yeah, they all have a special kind of gimmick to them that we can mention, but we're not going to go too far into those today.
But I feel like, it's pretty fair to also just say, like, I'm very comfortable giving this game a rating based on the experiences I have had with Trouble Brewing.
Well, and we can also
and some homebrews.
We can also just state now, as we're going into the review, for people that will care about our ratings later, I have played all three. Jesse, have you been able to play more than Trouble Brewing yet?
I've only played Trouble Brewing so far.
So I'm the only one that's played all three. So if that matters for your personal understanding of a rating later, that can matter to you. But anyway.
All right, well, Jesse, it's your game.
All right.
Tell us
how do we play this?
Blood on the Clocktower.
What is Blood on the Clocktower?
I don't see any dice. Can I roll some dice?
No.
Is there?
Oh, well, Champions Midgard has dice.
Oh, wait, don't like it. This is immediately better.
Yeah. Okay. Blood on the Clocktower is a social deduction game for 5 to 20 players. You heard me right, 5 to 20 players. It's a big one. You can have a huge group for it. If you've played Mafia, Werewolf, or any game of that similar style, you'll immediately be familiar with the basic concept of Blood on the Clocktower. One player is secretly a killer. In this case, in Blood on the Clocktower, they're referred to as a demon. And so it is a secret demon, and then all the other players are on the good side. In this case, it's the townsfolk are what they're called in Blood on the Clocktower. And you're trying to, with information, deduce who the demon is, and then during the day, everybody's going to vote on a player that they want to execute. Similar to Werewolf, and then they execute that player, and if it's the demon, then good guys win.
Now, go on.
Every night, everybody's going to close their eyes, and then the demon is going to pick somebody to kill, then hopefully they die, and then the day occurs again. We figure out who we want to nominate for who is going to die that day, and this continues until either the demon is the last one left with one player, because that means that he's going to kill him at night and is therefore the last one standing, or until the good players successfully deduce who the demon is and execute them. That's the basic premise of the game.
So, for me, the main difference that separates this game from any other social deduction game that we have played, including like Wolves of Mercia, one that we love, One Night Ultimate, and any of those other social deduction games. This one, the game master or the storyteller is truly kind of in control of this.
Part of the story, too.
Yeah, integral to this, because they are also choosing which bits of information to mete out at certain times. And their job, and I've heard Dan describe it this way, and I think it's a great way, is it's this tug of war but you're trying to keep that balance in the middle as much as you can so that one side can't run away with it. So for better or for worse, your experience may really rely on how good a job your game master does, your storyteller does, right?
Yeah. And this is something that's definitely going to be a love or hate for people. Like when we first brought this up to Bob, he was very much against that idea because all Bob cares about is winning and not fun. So
as representative in Bob's seat, I also agree. I want to win.
Exactly.
I don't want to have fun. I'm trying to win. Bob,
and that is
shout out
just
to you.
An extremely toxic mentality. But so what I'm trying to say, though, is some people don't like the fact that the storyteller is trying to make the game fair, and that the roles in the game, the abilities in the game are purposely written ambiguously to say that your ability might malfunction, or the storyteller will tell you something that will help you, or something.
You might be a townsfolk. You might be,
You might register as a townsfolk and stuff like that, right? And that is all to put all the pressure in the storyteller's hands to look at the game in that exact moment and say, what needs to be told to this player to not just help the enemy team, but to make this feel like an incredibly engaging and intense puzzle, right? That's what they're trying to do. And that is going to be divisive for people, for sure.
Now, Jesse, am I wrong, or is this... So basically, when you set up this game, because for the most part, this isn't like, oh, we've got 15 minutes to fill. I've got this deck of cards. Let's play Mafia real quick. Or let's play Werewolf.
You take
right?
out this Jumanji-looking chest.
But in this game,
entire,
not only do you have to pick what setting you're playing in, but you also then you need to decide what roles you're going to use based on player count and just what kind of experience you want to craft.
Right.
But in addition, you then, you by default, because you're our storyteller, it's your game. You by default also then have the choice where it's like, nah, I'm going to make Dan the demon this time.
Yep.
Or I'm going to randomly draw. And just see what they can do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing. That's,
Absolutely.
Well,
okay.
and branching off what you just said there, too, the start of the game, the setup is just so in-depth with what you can do. Again, Trouble Brewing is the most basic. It's the beginner mode.
You say most basic, and it is 100 times more complicated than most.
Look at all these books for a social deduction game.
Well, these are all the different modes.
But that's what I'm
stuff,
saying.
though.
It's
But
like
yes.
it's insanely overkill in a good way.
Yeah.
But like so even just deciding that the washerwoman is in the game, which the washerwoman is, you start knowing one or two people as the townsfolk. The storyteller chooses who to put those markers on as well, who registers as the townsfolk and who registers as the lie. And just that simple thing could be the crutch of the entire puzzle. You can literally build your game around, if they figure out this piece, everything will fall in line, but then I'll design every other character to make that puzzle difficult.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're literally building the puzzle from the core out. You say, this will be the game-winning move, I think. So how do I make that kind of hidden? Okay, I'll put this character in the game. That'll kind of hide that puzzle. But now that this character's in the game, they're really powerful. So I need to put this character in the game to kind of counter that. And you're building a network of a well-designed engine. Like that's what you're trying to build. You can randomly throw rolls in there, but it's going to feel very different. Just like how Trouble Brewing, Sex and Violence, and Bad Moon Rising, these are all sets of like 24 rolls that are designed to work really well together. But you can mix and match all you want.
Yeah,
So you're saying this is an engine builder.
Right, basically.
This is
Social deduction engine builder.
It is even more than that, though. It is almost like you are designing a one-shot D&D game kind of
say
thing.
that with Andrew.
I know.
No wonder I'm going to give this a 3.
A one-shot like RPG for the night, though, too, right? Because again, a lesser storyteller, somebody that's just not invested, because that's the thing, is it is going to require, especially from the storyteller, a level of commitment and interaction that you like. Let's just say, like, we drag Bob out to finally play it, and Bob's like kind of hesitant and tentative about it. That's fine. He can be like that. The game can still be successful with a player like that or an unsure player. But the storyteller absolutely has to have 100% confidence in what they're doing, be on their toes, because they will make mistakes. Players will throw curveballs or say stuff that they shouldn't say. And then you've still got to be able to pivot and keep the game going. Or at least interesting, right? If the game breaks, sometimes it breaks, and that's fine.
And fortunately, in our group, we have Jesse, who is good at doing that, which, when I get to later, like, that could be a bad part of this game. Like, if your group doesn't have that guy.
Well, Dan's run online games, and the couple that I've been able to participate in have been fantastic. Okay. But again, we've had, even then, we even had some tentative players, but we have... Thankfully, in our group, we have 2 people that are very invested in being, I think, and I could be wrong, Dan, but I feel like you're just as happy playing as running.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Dan could be a good storyteller as well.
I like playing because I become the chaotic guy that no one understands, because Dan knows a lot about this game, so why is he saying what he's saying right now? And I love it.
And I love it when you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm never wrong.
Very quickly, I'd like to backtrack just a little bit and address 2 major points. So, for clarification for anybody who hasn't played this game or is unfamiliar with it, like they were saying earlier, and this is a little bit of a jump back, but yeah, so unlike something like Werewolf or Mafia, the person who is the moderator, which is how it's referred to specifically.
Oh yeah, I
Werewolf,
keep calling you storyteller.
Yeah.
Oh okay.
No, it is storyteller.
Oh okay. Sorry.
No, but it is moderator and werewolf, and there's a very specific reason for that term, because the moderator is supposed to be impartial, running the game according to a strict set of rules, like Dan has just explained. But just for the clarification of anybody who is unfamiliar, in this game, the storyteller is as much of a player as everyone else.
Yes.
Like they were saying, their job is to make the game interesting and to make the game entertaining for everyone involved.
And I would say that the storyteller wins if there is a 20-minute postmortem after the game. Minimum.
Yeah.
You have succeeded if at the end of the game it is down to 3 players. Like that is what you want to see every single game. You want to see it go as long and as interestingly as possible.
I hadn't thought of it like that, and that's a really good point. You are correct.
It is a good way to describe it. And then the second thing I'd like to quickly mention, just in case, for people who aren't familiar with the game, So unlike in Werewolf, where maybe 1 or 2 players have an ability or have a role, in Blood on the Clocktower, every single person that's set down to play gets a unique role with a unique ability.
There is no villager.
Correct. That ability may be a one-time piece of information. It might be a once-per-game activation, or it may be a passive that has nothing to do with what you do, but with what other people do. It might only activate when somebody else does something. So just for, clarification that those are 2 also very different things.
Oh, yeah.
And for the last thing I'd like to mention, because it has yet to be mentioned, it is my absolutely favorite bit of Blood on the Clocktower.
Let me guess. Can I guess? No, because you want to. Is it the fact that everybody can vote throughout the whole entire game?
Yeah.
Correct.
That's what I was going to say too. Yeah.
In Blood on the Clocktower, when you die, you become a ghost. You get 1 vote for the rest of the game, and you get to continue playing.
But you can still talk with all of the information, and you can share information.
Still share information. You still contribute.
Which is the biggest buzzkill in social deduction games.
Absolutely.
When you get knocked out. Like, something I hate in those Mafia games is the first round you're kind of just randomly killing someone, and then that person's dead.
Yes.
Yeah, you're literally.
And that was me last game, and I still got to play.
Yeah.
Right. The first round of the Mafia games is usually, okay, let's randomly choose who's not going to play this
Dan
game.
coughed when we had our eyes closed. It must be Dan's in the Mafia. And it's like, oh, yeah, kill him.
Yeah,
Okay,
cool.
now go watch a movie, Dan.
Yes.
If you've, I participated about a year ago in a 32-game person game of Werewolf.
Oh,
which was interesting.
Yeah, dude. Forget
but I
that.
felt so bad for the
boring.
person who was eliminated
If it's
first.
not it's not a one-night scenario,
Correct.
where then don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just don't.
It was quite interesting, and so there were several werewolves, so the game was very quick. But it was just the first person who dies is always going to be like, all right, go on the couch, have a nap, you're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've completed.
Especially
so
with that
Clocktower
many players.
is
Yeah.
absolutely different in the fact that you get to continue playing the whole game, and because when you nominate a player for execution, you need half of the alive players in order to nominate them. Every time someone dies, each vote becomes more powerful and more important. So the fact that you as a dead player have a single vote left makes it so like you have this really engaging game of like deciding when to spend your death vote.
Good or evil. I mean, that's the crazy thing, right? It's
and because voting is public, another part of the game is watching how people vote. It's there's just so many elements and facets to the social deduction in this game that makes it so
and that's where the social, playing the player, not the game aspect of this comes in. Where it's like, because Jonathan famously has a terrible poker face.
Yes.
The one time he was the demon, he kept it together so well. And I knew he was the demon, but it made me doubt just a little bit, because he was able to keep it together so well, but just the way other things had gone down, I was like, everything is pointing to him, but he's not acting like the way he normally acts.
Sure.
But again, like that aspect of it, and I've talked to him about that. I've complimented him, 100 times. Like, dude, you were like, that was your most amazing game I've ever seen you play, and stuff. But exactly what we're doing right now is one of the reasons why I think this game shines, is that we have games that we have played that we still talk about.
Yeah.
That was months ago.
I loved the game last time. We had a first-time player playing the monk role, and the monk's role is specifically to defend a player at night from the demon. At night, he selects secretly a player, and then that player is defended from the demon. And the new player, monk, successfully defended someone from the demon 3 nights in a row, and everyone was confused.
And one of the people he protected from the demon was the demon.
Correct.
It was fantastic.
That's so good. Because yes, the demon can kill themselves. That is a valid strategy in the game.
In Trouble Brewing.
Correct.
Sure.
Again, so we need to, before we go into components, there's still actually quite a bit of gameplay stuff we have to break down for the people that care. So first of all, the game is divided into roles. The good team is townsfolk and outsiders. Townsfolk have abilities that help the good team. Outsiders have abilities that usually hinder the good team, and they're a bouncing mechanic. Instead of adding another evil player to a certain player count, you add an outsider, because then you're adding a good player with a negative ability. Usually, right? On the evil team, there are demons and minions. Same thing. Demon needs to win the game. He has an ability. Minions need to protect the demon at all costs. They don't really care if they die. They just need to make sure that the heat is off the demon. We also then have Fabled, and we have Travelers. Travelers and Fabled, most people here have not played with. But basically, just to sum up really quick, Travelers are for people that need to come and go. Another great mechanic that this game does that other games don't do. Let's say that we want to start playing Blood on the Clocktower, but Tim has to show up an hour late. When Tim shows up, we make him a Traveler. That's a role with an insanely powerful ability, but no one knows which team they're on. right? Only the Traveler knows, and if they're evil, the Demon knows, I believe. But other than that, no one knows which team they're on. Their piece is split down the middle, blue and red, because they get to choose. As a matter of fact, usually when a Traveler is introduced, the storyteller is supposed to go, hey, which Traveler do you want to be? And they get to choose what ability they want that's insanely powerful. And then the person will tell them, okay, with that ability, I'll make you on the evil team. And they go, okay, right? And then instead of being executed, the players just have to vote them out of the town because they're a traveler. So they say, let's kick this guy out of the town, right? And
then we're not monsters. We only kill the people we know.
Right. And so that's just an interesting little side puzzle. We were trying to figure out whose team is he on because he has an insanely powerful ability.
Well, because when you first were like, oh, there's a traveler and they come in and out, it's like, well, what's the point? Because everybody knows that guy's not the demon, so who cares?
Right.
But the fact that they actually have an ability, they're assigned a team.
Right. Yep. Well, like, so one of the Traveler's ability is literally just, they're called like the Gunslinger, and it's just every day pick someone and they die. And so if you don't know if that person's on your team, that's an extremely dangerous role to have in the game.
And the interesting thing about the Gunslinger is actually the fact that the Gunslinger can only shoot somebody who has voted that day.
Oh, sure.
Which means that people might
so
stop
people are
voting
not wanting to vote.
in order to avoid the Gunslinger.
Who's voting?
Yeah, exactly. And so just that one Traveler, and then Tim can just play for 30 minutes, have an insane amount of fun, and say like, okay, guys, I'm going to peace out now. And then that Traveler's just out of the game.
Oh, Andrew, you voted. Bye. Okay, see you later.
Exactly.
I was going to bring a little bit of that up when I addressed game setup.
Sure.
So, but continue.
Well, I'm just saying,
absolutely.
and then you wanted to talk about fabled people.
Oh,
so
yes.
These are all just mechanics.
Absolutely. So, like Tim was asking about earlier, when you get into game setup, you have the script of roles, which is going to be unique for each setup. So there are 3 setups to Blood on the Clocktower: Trouble Brewing, which we've said is the basic, Bad Moon Rising, and then Sects and Violet. The different thing about Bad Moon Rising and Sects and Violet is that the demon role, there are 3 unique demons for each of those games. In Trouble Brewing, there's a single demon role, and it's referred to as Imp. And the Imp's special power is that they can kill themselves, and if they do so, if there is a living minion, they pass on the Imp role to the living minion. So why Trouble Brewing is a good beginner script is because everyone at the table, everyone playing the game is going to know what the demon's ability is. Like it is a known factor. They can account for it. They can try to plan for it.
And if you're a new player and you get stuck with demon, you can say like, I'll just kill myself and pass it to someone
pass it to somebody who's maybe more experienced or maybe a little bit more confident.
And they don't have to kill themselves for that ability to trigger, right?
They do.
Oh, they
unless
do.
the Scarlet Woman is in play.
Oh, okay, got it. Never mind.
So when you're setting up the game, like Tim said,
I'm just saying a lot of information they won't understand.
So much. So much.
It's like one big inside joke.
Yeah, exactly.
So the setup of the game can be what you want it to be. You, as the storyteller, are empowered to pick the roles at the beginning of the game, and then you can either assign them randomly, or you can have, maybe I've made a deck of the tokens, and the tokens, by the way, are these little chip things. I don't know how well
got that felt in the back
camera.
too, right?
Oh yeah,
They
we'll
do.
we'll nail that in components
here pretty soon.
But you have these
3
chips.
hours from now.
You have these chips. So what you can do when you're doing setup is you can say, all right, I'm going to pass them out in a clockwise order. So I'm going to shuffle all of them, except I'm going to put this roll 3 from the bottom because I know that that's going to be handed to somebody in particular, right? So you can do a combination of random and sort of seeded, as I like to call it, a sort of seeded randomness, just to give, a different experience, or because you want to see a certain thing. Like in the last time we played, somebody in our group I know had never been on the evil team before in any of the games we had played. So I made sure to give them an evil roll, just because I was like, all right, I want you to be evil this time. So you can do things like that, and it's great.
Yeah, he did great.
And the last thing about setup that
he actually did good.
Had alluded to is the Fabled. Now, this is a system that most games aren't going to think about. The Fabled are a series of special characters, although I say characters loosely. No player takes control of the Fabled. The storyteller merely tells the group that the Fabled is in play. And they're sort of like game conditions. They're different settings that are going to change how your game works, and they're introduced as characters. So a couple that I want to mention in specific because of how useful they have as a utility are things like, for example, the Doomsayer and the Toymaker. Each of them fulfill the same purpose, but on the opposite end of the spectrum. So the Doomsayer gets to basically, after somebody is executed every day, you will, let me double check just so that I don't mess this up.
Fabled are not used very often.
They're not.
Because they are literally rule benders.
Correct. Yes. So each living player after the execution picks another player, and if they are of the same alignment, they die.
Oh, wow.
So if you want a fast game.
The Doomsayer is all about making a large player count game go quicker.
Just dwindle them in
Maybe
3
you
rounds.
don't have enough time to play a full game of Blood on the Clocktower, but you've got like 15 people who want to play, so you just make this one go quick. The Toymaker is the exact opposite. The way the Toymaker works is that the demon must not kill one night. They can choose not to kill, but they must do it once before the end of the game. So that will make a small player count game go a little bit longer. So those are each like trying to adjust the game length in ways that are dealt with the mechanics.
And again, right? That's, love it or hate it. An interesting thing about this is that weird, like, level of depth and technicality that they put into this game, because
I'm still wrapping my mind around, like,
the washerwoman.
These games should be in little boxes at Target for $5, and this is like, this is like some like, it's insane. And we're not on components yet, but yeah.
No, but again, like that feeds into what I was going to say is that when this game was on Kickstarter, I'm like, there's no way I'm paying $100 for a social deduction game. There's no way. There's nothing that this game could do to make it worth that much money. And then we played it online, and I'm like, oh, maybe, maybe. And then, I see the, like, IRL version, right? And it's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, never mind. I take back everything I said. I was completely wrong about that, because
you were paying for so many ideas.
But this is
into one box.
This is so many different things than just we're gonna do, because it's, to me, it's an obnoxious thing about like One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Where it's like, well, you could play with 100 players, and it's like, well, sure,
it'll be a shit game.
You can, but where this,
it accommodates for all of those ideas that you could say, what if in Werewolf?
And again, though, right, like for people that really want something more complex, it is there. You can play a simpler version as well. Like this is like for people, and I'm not a car guy, right? But people who like fine tune their transmissions in their cars and stuff, because they want gears to click at certain times, in different speeds, and this is like so much like that. This is like just like a big old engine that you were just tuning, and it's like, well, I want it to go this fast, this way.
What do you want to do? Blood on the Clocktower can do.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, I'm sorry. I just this is
no, but there's just a lot of game changing. Fabled is all you wanted to say. So like one of them is like the first player who's responsible for killing a brand new player to the game dies. So just you just put that in if you have a lot of new players and you're like, hey, let them have a chance to play, basically. But instead of the storyteller just saying, hey guys, please don't kill things, I might have to punish you, the game says, no, a rule is now in play, you will die if you do this, right? And it's just a tiny thing.
You do that and then you make the new player the imp.
Right. Or one that I really like is I don't know which one it is, but it's there is no demon. The players have to realize there's no demon and vote to kill the storyteller.
Yeah, that is,
and you win if you kill the storyteller. And that's just a game-changing, dumb, hilarious thing. I love it. But anyway,
some people will be put off by that as well, though, because there are characters and roles that maybe give you false information or can trigger things that your ability doesn't work the way you think it should. And so some people will get upset and frustrated because there is the very likely chance that you are going to get incomplete information, or incorrect information. So unlike a Werewolf or a Two Booms in a Room or any other social deduction game where it's like, I know for a fact X has to be Y, like this is definitely this, and no, it's not. Like, so
you can't master Blood on the Clocktower.
No, you can do your best to know every role inside and out. Like Dan, for example, and still get shocked, right? by a storyteller who is not cheating. They're working within the framework that is designed there, but is still keeping that flag on that tug of war rope still right in the middle.
And then really quick, Jesse, before we go into components, we need to describe what these two giant things on the table are for people.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so you pass me.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Are we doing these as part of components or just explaining what these
are?
I just mean they're going to want to understand what this book means.
Absolutely.
And what that thing means.
Very quickly, I will take one last aside. I keep saying this. I do want to go over two more Fabled in specific for their utility to the game. So there is one called The Revolutionary, which this was a fable that when I read, I was blown away by how amazing that the designers even thought of it. So the way The Revolutionary works is you pair yourself with another player. You are the same alignment as that player, and you two wake up together. You participate in the whole game together as a pair. You may be different characters and you may have different abilities, but you are a pair together. And the reason they designed this role was for blind people, deaf people, or people that have sort of special needs or accommodations, or even one that they mentioned in the rulebook that I thought was a little funny, were romantic couples that are uncomfortable lying to each other.
Nice.
So I find that they even thought of that as a potential problem or as a potential gameplay challenge, but wanted to accommodate as many people as possible to play the game is amazing.
Because that could make for an awkward car ride home.
Absolutely.
You lying snake.
Absolutely.
How dare you?
And there are some people who cannot lie in these games.
Absolutely.
I've met people who
And
they
you could
just
even,
it breaks them when I was like, are you good or bad?
I'm bad.
And you could even use the Revolutionary to pair a new player up with an experienced player in one game. So they have, and the Revolutionary are encouraged to whisper to each other and collaborate and share all their information, truly all of their information.
Right, because they know they're on the same team.
And they learn all information together, so they know what's going on. And then the last one I want to mention in specific is the Fiddler. This is the...
Wait, is he on a roof?
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
He's on a clock tower, damn it.
He is. If the game ends abruptly, the Fiddler rule, Fabled, makes it so that the demon secretly nominates one other player. It is revealed to the whole table that it is either the demon or this person. Now discuss. Everyone has to vote.
So, the example that they gave was like, oh, let's say you're at like a hotel room, like a big room that you rented or whatever, and you're playing, and then they come in and they're like, hey, we're closing. You guys got to end the game, and the game's only halfway over. You say, okay, I'm implementing the Fiddler.
Correct. And then at that point, the game can end by the whole group taking a vote on whether or not the demon is the actual demon or a guy that the demon nominates. And the demon gets to nominate, so they get to pick the person that they think they have the best chance of convincing everyone else.
I love it. That's such a cool idea.
Those are two of the Fable that I was just amazed that they even made a gameplay mechanic for this IRL situation or this in real life challenge. That
they probably went into Reddit and said, what don't you like
what
about
annoys you?
Werewolf?
Right.
Yeah.
And then maybe it blew up and got like 1,000 responses, and they just responded to every single one. And they threw it in a game, they threw it in a book, they threw it in a modification.
Right, and they tried to come up with as many different ways they could to address these things with actual mechanics. Because lesser games would just, deal with it yourself kind of thing. Like, we're not going to help you, or we don't even have a provision for it. We're not even going to think about it. But this game actually went out of its way to try and think of a solution.
Well, yeah, I mean, really, most other werewolf games are just like, well, Jesse, we got to go, so I'm gonna just nominate Jesse.
Right, exactly.
Everybody, we gotta go soon. We just kill Jesse and just be done with it.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Boom, he's dead.
Yep.
Oh wait, what? You weren't the werewolf? Well, damn. Okay.
We lost.
Now going over what these two things are. So this is basically what you're buying Blood on the Clocktower kind of physically for. This is the grimoire. It's two separate pieces of the box. They are clipped together by these sort of black paper clips. And then inside this, you're arranging tokens that are going to be your game setup. You're going to arrange them based on the seating order, which is very important for the game. It can't change. Everybody has to return to the same seats. And you're going to be using tokens and markers to help you keep track of all the information as storyteller, because that's really the hardest part of this game as storyteller, is trying to keep track of everything that's going on at the same time. So they've provided wonderful tokens with a felt backing and these little reminder tokens that you can set in that felt backing to try and keep track of everything that's going on. They give you these little black shrouds to mark dead players, and then the boxes that contain the components, actually, you'll see at the very bottom of this grimoire, work as a sort of storage. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. And then on the other side, you have your script. There's a specific storyteller script that's going to remind you every ability that has to trigger at night, every ability in what order that they have to go in. And then they give you these nice little white tokens to set next to all of the characters that are in play. So you just have to very quickly go through and scan all that. It's excellent. This whole grimoire thing, you would keep it secret as the storyteller. And there's a specific ability in Trouble Brewing, which is amazing, a minion, where you show the book to one of the minions, the spy.
That was me.
And so they just get to look at it, see all of your reminder tokens, see all of your setup, and it's amazing. This here is the town square mat. This is where you track players who have died and whether or not they have a death vote or not. So there are these white tokens that flip over to the purple side, and then there are these small purple tokens you set on and then remove.
When they've
spent their vote.
And you'll see it's just in the same setup as everyone's seating position,
Correct.
like in the grimoire.
So you'll need to keep those consistent and make sure that everybody is sitting in the same order.
So while it sounds like this game demands a lot from you, and it does, as a storyteller specifically, they do provide you with really about every tool that you need. Again, there is a level of commitment to this game that is
as the purchaser.
Yeah, that is way beyond, like, oh, I'm going to spend $15 on this game, at a big box store. Like, no. Like this, well, you're not going to just stumble in, I bought Blood on the Clocktower. I wonder if it's any good. Because it's a high price point. But but yes, everything you get in here, and we'll get into the components, because these are not just like, slap together chintzy stuff either. So yeah, let's get into components so we can, because we can do gameplay. Yeah. There are literally hours and hours and hours of podcasts dedicated to gameplay.
Yeah. So components.
What's in the box? Components. Well, components are what they are.
They're beautiful. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
Nothing special about components.
Just the couple things that are really important to mention is you can see just this genius idea they have here, to where the whole point is the box opens up and becomes this grimoire. And then the storyteller can walk around, and it looks like they're holding a giant book, and as they're walking around and talking to people and setting up the roles and everything like that.
And those just stick.
They don't even, like, I'm trying to move this, and it's just felt on felt.
It is the most simple idea ever. It's literally just
I wouldn't call it felt. I think it's, what's that? It's not like
it's science.
Velvet.
It's magic.
It's science. Magnets. How do they work?
But it's like a... It's like a velvet, like a velour kind of feel.
It's
those goofy outfits you wore in like middle school.
It's amazing.
The velour, the very soft.
I'm not that old. It's amazing though, because with Velcro you would get wear and tear on the pieces,
and
you get the little frizzies.
And there's the sound, right? So like, oh, the storyteller's moving stuff around.
And one of the interesting things even about this game is that, like, if you have the grimoire out during the day and people are like talking and like maybe using abilities or something, as a storyteller, you're absolutely just like a good DM in a Dungeons and Dragons game. You just start moving pieces or pretending to move pieces. That way, people think something's happening.
I said this. He's doing something.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than a D&D game where you guys are like planning something, and then the DM just starts rolling dice behind the screen. And it's like, what's happening?
Everyone suddenly, the tension spikes.
I make a perception check. Like, okay, how'd it go? You don't notice anything.
I'll try to get some photos to put up here of what it looks like when it's like put away in the box too, because it's just beautiful looking how everything fits in there.
Is there a not cheaper edition, but is there a more basic edition, or is this just
this is the base game? And there will be expansions at some point of more
just books.
More
basically.
Throw more books into your grimoire.
They'll come with these and a book probably.
There's plenty of real estate in there to fit more
as far
stuff.
as like a basic rundown of components, you get all of the 5 different rule books, one for the basic game, one for the Travelers and Fabled, and then one for each of the scripts. And the great thing about those rule books is not only are they filled with impeccable art, but they also have very good recommendations and informations on like how to play the game, what to do about certain situations.
Yeah, here's a page you can read real quick.
Yeah, here's a page
if you want to read it. Thanks, Dan.
No, showing off what the inside looks like.
I mean, this is the text is small. There's a lot of information here.
The beautiful thing about the rule books for the scripts themselves is that they give you so many examples of like how to play a certain role or what like your strategy might be.
It's gorgeous too, man.
If you are a player or if you're a new storyteller, what you can even do is you can go over and you can read each of the recommendations for the roles and then memorize those for the roles that you plan to play in that game,
nice.
and then be ready to offer advice to players who are like, okay, I'm this role, storyteller, what the hell do I do?
Is that like a story over there, Dan?
No, this is the how to be a great storyteller section.
Okay.
And it starts going into how to run a game.
Right.
Dan hasn't.
Specifically.
He
hasn't yet. Yeah. That's why he opened that. That's where his bookmark was.
So yeah, it's really great the level of detail and sort of the care and attention that they've sort of put into all these rule books.
And then these cheat sheets come with it as well, right?
Yes, exactly. And then for each script, you get these beautiful, just laminated sheets like these. Yep. And I want to sort of just make it very clear that these are not just like pieces of cardstock, pieces of paper. These are like laminated.
Yeah, they're
you
glossy.
You can see the reflection in the
laminated
camera.
cardstock.
Exactly. And they're absolutely like.
Oh, it's really nice.
Beautifully detailed, they break down all the roles, put all the information in a nice, easy to digest.
And on the back of it, it's got the scenario.
It's got the edition, so you know exactly which one you're holding, and
it's really good to have as a new player.
Absolutely,
like because it's helpful
necessary.
to look and like read other people's roles. It's a really good aid.
And they give you 20 per setup, so that you can have 20 players, and every single player can be holding one of these. Nobody has to share. Nobody has to look over each other's shoulder. Everybody gets their own script or their own sheet.
Yep,
very nice.
It's amazing.
So yes, high price point, but and when we get into final thoughts, I'll mention this. The value is there.
It is.
Wrongly, I was like, there's no way. There is no way that this game.
What is the price tag?
Was it 150?
Price point is 165.
Yeah. And it's
again though on Kickstarter, 100.
It was $100 on Kickstarter, and I was like,
this is just now the retailing and shipping and all that stuff.
On the Kickstarter, I was like, there's no way that they could create a social deduction game that is worth $100. There is no way. I was 100% wrong.
And they can.
Well, listen, the value of what you're getting.
You are buying and supporting someone's ideas,
yes,
which is much different than buying like what's another like equivalent like
well, if you're buying a Simon Zombicide game, right, that's $100 whatever, and you get a bunch of stuff, but this game meets that level of components
right now. Well, it does feel like, again, because there's no base game like you were trying to say earlier, it's like you bought the collector's edition.
Sure.
But it's the only edition.
Totally.
Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful,
right?
But I would say you're buying more and supporting more the ideas of the developers and how much time and effort they put into making this a high quality event. No, people come over to play this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas you're not buying all of these miniatures and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think the production value though is here, right? With the design of the box, all of the sheets, and the high quality of the sheets. There's no component that I've seen in this game that is like, well, this was a placeholder that they never got back around.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So, but again, right? Like your value for $100 game, let's just say it was $100 on Kickstarter. Your value for $100 game might be completely different than my value depending on the game you're trying to get and play.
Right. I do see though that this game could have been $35.
Oh,
and they made the components insanely good.
Yes. Valid point. Yes.
I can see that.
They could have used a deck of cards. They could have used any number of. They could have just used paper. They could have just used cardstock.
Right, going on the fact that Mike recreated this game with his printer.
Correct.
So.
And he was probably $50 in, right? Like making it from home, but actually printing out some things nicer and spending some money on something.
Wooden chips to make kind of the things work.
Right.
So this is actually insanely important, though. While we're in components, you have a negative. I want to hear it.
I do. I have a single negative. To bind the grimoire together, you have these black
paper
clips.
Oh, they actually gave you those. Those are part of the
game.
They come with the game. There are these
They're just
singular
paper clips.
black paper clips.
They're just black.
They're like, I like the fact that they're black. They're very inobvious, but I do wish that they maybe had come up with something maybe a little bit more thematic, or maybe a little bit that didn't look quite so Office Depot.
That was the $200 Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That is literally my only complaint. Though. And they serve their function well. They do their job, but it is my only complaint. I wish they had come up with something.
I can totally see that. I actually have one minor complaint that's very similar, and that is, can you grab the death marker that I put in there?
Death.
This one?
The shroud?
Yeah, the black shrouds. So this isn't actually a fully negative. It's just kind of an annoyance to me, is that these are the death markers that, as you saw, just hang on the things to mark when people have died. And they're just these black pieces of plastic, and they're totally fine, except for the fact that if you look up artwork for this game, or if you play the digital version, these have a beautiful gray and black artwork on them, and they just didn't paint them for the full release.
Jesse, why didn't you paint these?
Right.
I suck at painting.
You knew we were going to review it today, Jesse.
And again, that is such a nitpick, but I'm just like, hey, Pandemonium Institute, why aren't they gray like on all your digital crap?
You know what though? You could do like a stone dry brush just over this without even priming it, and it would give it like a nice like weathered aged
Tim's
look.
A painting expert.
Listen, that's the only thing I can do.
I might lend you my bag of shrouds.
So
if you wanna...
that is the only thing I can do decently.
Right.
And the ones I have done like look pretty decent. But yeah, that would spice those up
make
like
it pop
really.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not kidding, and I'm not trying to be biased. That's like it for complaints for me, component wise. They poured their heart and soul into this.
I agree with Jesse. Like this, like I don't know what I expected, like a metal hinged, like box that would open, or something. I get it. It's fine. If this is the one spot where it's like, well, this is the only way we can make this viable.
Correct.
Right.
Then you deal with it. But
well, you can tell from the effort they put into the rest of this game that when they were like, we got to go with paper clips.
Yeah, they probably hated it more than we do.
Well, all I'm going to say is that if Andrew was like, well, I was really having a good time, but then I noticed the paper clips on that grimoire, and I was out. Like, I just couldn't stop.
I literally left I was the fiddler. I just left.
There you go.
It's like you go on a first date, and she's just got this huge mole, like, over like one eye, and you just can't get past it.
I thought you were going to say a huge paper clip.
Yeah. Well, you put a paper clip on the mole.
Mole. Is it going to No.
But,
final thoughts.
But no, I think that's very valid. So yeah, you want to do final thoughts then, guys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Final thoughts. So most people already talked for 20 minutes for final thoughts during the how to play section of the game. So I don't know if people have much more to say.
I got a lot to say about you people. Andrew, why don't you go first?
Yeah. So So preface. I hate social deduction games.
Except for Secret Hitler, right? Basically.
I spent a lot of time with my students playing Secret Hitler, and it's fantastic. It's one of my favorites. But seeing this game and seeing all of these books, like I love rule books. Like I hate reading books, but when I see a rule book, I'm just like, I want to learn you. And like just the respect. It's like a video game that has like lore developers, and they spent like I'm the guy in Skyrim that goes to the books, and I'm just like, I'm gonna learn them all. Like the fact that they have all of these ideas. I wasn't like bagging on the fact that this is $100 game that you're just paying for the ideas, because I would pay for the ideas. Like that's worth it to me. I do not like social deduction games though. That first round, the talking mechanic that's in this game where you have to like say things. Like just doesn't feel very good for me. But that's with all social deduction. Even in Secret Hitler, it's like, well, were you given a choice?
Yeah.
No. It's like, okay, well, I didn't think of anything creative there. This game actually gives you the opportunity to think of creative ways to say what role you may or may not be. You've got this whole placard of different roles that you can try different strategies out with. I do not like social deduction games. I want to say that again.
Sure.
But the production, I could see people kind of giving up on making social deduction games with the amount of effort and content in this game. Despite how much I do not like social deduction games, I am extremely impressed with this presentation, the quality, the depth of all of the additions that they put into this. Like I said, the production value, except for those paper clips, but who cares? Who really cares? You know, like you get to walk around with a book, like you're kind of like a judge. You know, that's very cool. You have to have a good group of people, though. Oh man, this could be the greatest game ever. But if you play with a bunch of duds,
yeah,
honestly,
a bad situation too. I've seen a lot of people kind of hate on this game, but they played a 2-hour game in a really loud convention where they couldn't hear anything.
Yeah,
it's just
and it's their 36 hour of being awake straight. Yeah. And it's like, well, how? I mean,
it sucks. It does, but take that into account.
Yeah, you can't have duds, and you have to have a good storyteller. Fortunately, in our group, we have both of those.
Well,
we check both of those boxes.
And what's funny though is you say you don't like social deduction games, but the couple of times that we've played this and you've been around and I've been there for it, you're game.
Oh yeah,
you're game for it.
I will always play a social
So let me give you some credit, because Bob has fought tooth and nail to try to dodge this thing, and it's like, Bob, you are a thinking man's gamer. You love strategy. This game is legit strategy. Now, you don't have to love social deduction, and I get it, and that's fine, because definitely it's not everybody's cup of tea. But I want to give you credit, because despite all of that, you show up.
Yeah, I've been down to play.
You show up.
I make you feel it before we actually open that game up. I will let you know. Like, I'm over there just looking at anyone who says blood on the clock tower. I'm just looking like, I'm not playing it. I'm not playing it. And then when we play it, I'll play it.
No, your game, it's your game and you actively participate and you try.
Yeah.
Because some people will go, well, I don't like social deduction games, but everyone wants to play it. So I'm going to sit here and like, I'll
watch the football game.
I'll go through the motions. To your credit, you never do that. You actually play the game, and I appreciate that. Yeah. So I just want to say that.
And final thing is, I think once I get a light bulb, then I love social deduction games. But the first round or 2 or 3 of questioning, where I'm just like, what did you do last night? You know, like, what are your roles?
Yeah.
That part. But once I catch someone doing something fishy, then I get into it. Then I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. And if you guys go against me, I will remember this and I will remove the grudge from the game and I will hold on to the grudge eternally.
Yes.
So
as you should.
I admit that the best stories can come from these games. So I do surrender that. So
we need to get Andrew to play Murder in Hong Kong.
Yeah, deception.
The whole point of that game is there's no downtime. The puzzle starts immediately.
Great. Well, I don't like social deduction games, so
it's barely a social deduction.
Hidden Trader.
Yeah, it's more Hidden Trader.
Okay,
for sure.
So,
Jesse, this is your bad boy. Why don't you tell us your final thoughts?
Did you say this is your bad boy?
This is his bad boy. This game is his bad boy.
My final thoughts are that this pretty much just comes in Godzilla to every other social deduction game I've played, and is King of Monsters. No, it
is a monster too.
I played it twice before I decided to go to the Pandemonium Institute and buy it myself. And I was just, I can't understate or undersell the value of the one time that I played it and I was killed in the game and I got to keep playing was like a light bulb moment for me. I was like, games can be fun. This is amazing. I don't have to stop playing. Like, it was just such a mind blow moment for me where I was like, and they were the first people that thought of this, and I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. So just that kind of combined with like they've all said, the value of the components, the ideas, the beautiful attention to detail, the fabled that deal with ways of dealing with maybe players that have some sort of challenge or some sort of disadvantage that they have to deal with. The fact that they've even included
there should be a fable for people who don't like these types of games.
Right, exactly. There should be, and there may
they get a little tableau and they can play a different
game. and really just the attention to detail, the artwork, it's all incredible.
Yes.
Gosh, just I could gush about this game for literally another 20 minutes. Yeah. But, for my closing thoughts, just. Yeah, you have to have a storyteller that's going to be committed to learning the game. It's a little bit of a beast to learn and to wrap your head around.
You need to come prepared.
Yeah, you need to have a good group. You need to have a minimum of 6 players, 5 players with a storyteller. That is your minimum you're going to be allowed to play with.
Yeah.
And you really need to have good time and good space for it too, because one thing we didn't quite mention in the how to play section, but this game encourages players to go off into their own private conversations and have their own powwows between smaller groups of players. So you have to have a good space for it, a good group for it. But if you can have those things, then this is, I think, one of the most fun you can have with a group of 5 to 20 people. 2 recommendations for anybody that really wants to get into this game. Personally, go on Amazon, buy yourself a roll of stick name tags and a Sharpie, and put that in your box. If you rock up to a convention, you rock up to a game day, and not everybody's introduced to each other, it's going to be really great to have sort of like a
name tag
stickers. Yep, and then people can put their name and any other information.
That's a good idea.
There. Yeah, it's a great idea. So that pretty much sums up my final thoughts, honestly. It's a great game, and I think that it's done everything to impress me.
You look like you're getting choked up.
Dan,
I am. It's a good game.
Dan, you're the skeptic here.
Yeah.
What do you think about Blood on the Clocktower?
I wasn't impressed.
He hates everything.
Yeah, so I have so many things that I want to try to hit through really quick. So first of all, if you're playing in 5 or 6 players, the rules are slightly different. So make sure that you know that. They're called Teensyville. You'll want to look that up. I described this game in the past as Gossip Simulator. It's one of the things that makes me have so much fun during this game.
Dan loves gossip.
Yeah, it's just so fun when it's like fake gossip. When it's real gossip, grow up. When it's fake gossip, it's hilarious. And it's like, because he was kind of saying, we didn't mention this earlier, the whole kind of point of the game isn't like in Werewolf where you just kind of sit at the town square and just kind of talk for a little bit and then everyone closes their eyes, right? In this game, the day starts, the information the storyteller has to tell for the day is given, and then he says, okay, bye. lie, and you're encouraged to go off and whisper to each other in private groups, and to have your rules set there, like you can't interrupt people that are talking and stuff like that. But like, so I can be like, hey Tim, come on, and we go to a corner of the room, and it's like, hey, what are you? And stuff is just like, oh, I'm this. Oh, good. Okay, we need to keep that a secret because XXX. Okay, cool. See you, Tim. Hey Jesse, come over here and talk. Hey, Tim's this.
Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, and
now I know to kill Tim.
And just going around and spreading lies and misinformation, or just spreading truth when you told the people that you wouldn't tell the truth and everything, and just that gossip simulator part of it. And then everyone comes back to town square and everyone's just looking at each other like, I heard some stuff today and I don't know how I feel about this, right? Like, that is a big part of the game, and I think it's fantastic. There's just so much. I love the art for this game. I don't think it can be overstated. This art style, this letter style, like this type font or typeface, I mean.
It doesn't feel weird. It does a really good job.
It's so, it really feels like you're getting into like the universe that these guys built, which goes into what you were saying earlier, which is just, I don't know if I've ever seen a company that so clearly cared about their product and just dumped so much into this. Like, I'm a huge fan of Stonemaier games and stuff, and I think he puts a lot of effort into it, even though errata could be his subtitle, but I think that they have really good games. But like, man, the heart and soul poured into this game to make everything feel like it's in this universe and to be atmospheric and thematic. That's what they wanted. Everything is atmospheric and thematic. Oh, we want we want the storyteller to walk around with a giant grimoire, and when people see the back, it just looks like a book. Like the side, looks like pages you can see in the camera. And
you know what? They could have released 2 of these books and then just held on to 4 of them for an expansion and these little boxes, and they included every single thing.
Right.
They were just like, this is all of our hard work.
They have 3 fully fledged, well-designed and balanced games. These are different games. So again, that's another thing that goes into this price. You're paying $100 for a social deduction game. You're paying $100 for 3 social deduction games that follow the same rule set, because these feel completely different. Yeah. I mean, Trouble Brewing basically focuses hardcore on poisoning and stuff like that, and the demon jumping mechanic. Sex and Violets is all about, it introduces madness. And that's an entirely new, crazy thing that's introduced that is maybe my favorite mechanic. And then Bad Moon Rising is all about life and death manipulation. Like, some characters really want to die because that's when their power starts proccing and stuff like that, And like, they all have a completely different feel to them. So you're getting a social deduction game with almost 100 unique roles that are all well designed and balanced and fit into 3 separate games that are by themselves well designed and balanced. It's insane. And they've already announced like 3 more that are going to come eventually. Like, we've already seen the names for them and stuff. And then on top of that, they have official Teensyville scripts where it's like, oh, you only have 5 or 6 players. So instead of playing Trouble Brewing, you're playing Laissez-Faire, or whatever the French one is called.
Laissez-Faire, yeah.
And these are official by the company Teensyville scripts that are designed to be fun and interesting and well balanced and stuff. Like, man, and this company is insanely prominent on Twitch. If you want to see this game played or learn how to play this game, they stream this game like twice a week on the Pandemonium Institute's Twitch account, but from official storytellers from the company that are there to just show you how the game works. They play digitally. They don't play the physical. They play the Discord version. But that has its own pros and cons. Like, honestly, I think the Discord version is just as good as the real version and has a totally different feeling.
You can go into like different channels in Discord.
Yeah, and the storyteller. Really, so when I ran on Discord, you have bot commands where you type in certain things and it will teleport people around, right? So, hey, you guys have 3 minutes in conversation. Over the 3-minute mark, I type in my command and it teleports everyone back to town square, right? And then
and then there's always inevitably someone awkwardly is, and then Dan did. Whoa, wait, we're all in town square.
And then you have a command that teleports everyone to their own separate channels. That's their own room by themselves, and then you join it and you say, hey, what do you want to do, right?
Let's meet in the graveyard for a
conversation. It's much more atmospheric on Discord, honestly, because you are in a channel alone with one other person, and that's all you hear.
And nobody overhears your stuff. Right.
There's no like ambient noise and stuff. Yeah. This feels more like a party game when you play it in real life as opposed to the Discord version. But I have so few negative things to say about this game that it's kind of insane, and I've been talking about it for years. So everything that I want to talk about, our subscribers have already heard, and if you're new to it, I've said most of it at this point. one negative thing that's going to be for people, so we talked about earlier, the wibbly wobbly rules is going to be kind of a negative to some people. They're like, oh, I really like the strict rules.
I need controlled information,
and that is fair.
Shift.
That is not this game, and that is fair. The other thing is this game definitely has a meta that exists in it, and people aren't going to necessarily love that. There are not correct ways to play, but ways that make the game feel more streamlined, and that if you watch people online or if you go to a convention see people play, most people are going to play this way because it's how the designers play. And so it's been spread because for a long time, the only way to see it played was the designers playing online. And so like we use terms like the 3 for 3 when you're talking and stuff, and you use terms like star pass and stuff like that. And these are terms that people that have a lot of time with the game will say that if you're new, you'll have no idea what that means because it's just the meta that's come out of the game.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, there's your group's meta that's going to develop as well. And then that's the really fun, awesome meta that's going to happen where every group is going to be different. And that's going to be interesting where it's like, oh, well, every time Tim is the poisoner, he always poisons the person to the right of the empath. I'm the empath. So if Tim's the poisoner, this can happen, right? And like you'll start having those things develop. And it's just going to be this really interesting stack of, I cannot describe it better than it is an in-depth puzzle. And you're going to see how each group solves that puzzle, and it's going to be completely different than anyone else. And I find it fascinating, and incredibly fun. And I'll stop talking.
Oh no, I mean,
oh, that was real quick.
Yeah. No.
Can we title this a real quick review of Blood on the Clocktower?
Well, to be completely honest, like Dan has been passionate about this game for a long time, so it makes sense. Yeah. Him and Jesse both could go on for ages about this.
We should start a podcast.
And still have really good things to say and interesting things to say. So, yeah, I mean, that was quick for how they feel
I didn't
about
say
it.
anything during the how to play part. Because that's
Neither did
how
I.
to play. Oh, shit.
But so a few things, I think, and I don't think these are negatives as much as they're caveats, and it's kind of what, like Dan was talking about. This is not, if you're going to buy this game, this is not for the casual player.
Yes.
You may buy this game because you know it's going to work well in your group, but like let's just say that I bought this game, but I don't ever want to run it, but I know I've got friends like Jesse that will run it. Mm-hmm. Also fine. But this is not like, this isn't like Werewolf where you play on a lark, or Mafia, where you can just. This isn't even like beer and pretzels, right? Like you want to have your wits about you, while you play this game. You want to be able to zone in. This is a game that requires a lot of attention and focus. So not really a party game. It's disguised as a party game, but then it's a Trojan horse,
Sure. And that's going to be a bit group dependent, but sure.
Very true. Very true. And I will say, again, group dependent. That's the caveat. You need to have a group. So like in our group, right? We have Andrew and Bob that don't love social deduction games, but, in our group, thankfully, Andrew shows up, we all play it. He shows up to play.
Thankfully.
No, I mean, like it would be terrible if you just were a grump through the whole thing. Sure. And it'd be like, well, that kind of sucked.
If his natural state is grump, that doesn't really matter.
Are you saying I have like some like RBF or something?
Yeah. Resting grump face.
Yeah, resting grump. Yeah. Resting grump gamer.
But no, I mean, so there's things to consider, right? Group dependent. There's a commitment. There is a commitment here because if you want to play the game, you want to play it well, and playing it well is going to require a level of attention to detail, because everybody else can come into this game brand new and learn it on the fly, except for the storyteller.
Sure.
The storyteller absolutely has to be well-versed in every single role that they are using in the game. They don't have to learn every role if they're not going to use those roles, but the roles they are using, they really need to understand the ins and outs. And again, you also be quick on your feet because you will make mistakes. Players will do things that you're like, wait, what? And now you have totally got to pivot and change things. So again, if you're into it and you're there for it, the value is there. The time investment is there because they have given you all of the tools to have an amazing experience. 100%. I have turned around a complete 180 on this game. Probably more than that. Like Like I've spun around probably like 3 times on this game because I was very cold on it when it was on Kickstarter. Social deduction game, $100. That's ridiculous. It's so stupid. I can't believe anybody would do that. I love social deduction games. And I'm like, no, there's no way. That's complete garbage. What a cash grab. It's so stupid. Then a year later, Dan and I start talking about social deduction games and stuff. And then Dan keeps talking it up. And I'm like, well, maybe I was wrong about this. I don't know. Let me look at it. So we start looking at it. I'm like, okay, it actually sounds pretty interesting. Then we play like online in Discord. I'm like, okay, that's flipping fantastic. I can't wait to now see it. And then like Mike makes his homemade copy. And I'm like, oh, this is really flipping cool. And then Jesse has the actual copy. We're like, holy smoke, somebody actually bought the game. And like we have a physical copy. And again, we play it every time we've played it, whether the game has gone really smoothly or it's been lots of like, well, that was a goof, but who cares? That at the end of it, who cares? Like you are playing this game for the experience, right? You're playing this game for the stories you're going to tell after the fact. You know, we now all have war stories, right? From this game that we will remember for years. You may forget a few details here and there, but for the most part, like I will never forget being Jonathan's evil twin.
Right.
And putting him in such a bad spot and just, it was so much fun to make him squirm. And, you know, but I feel like he legitimately was having a great time though, because that level of interaction, you know, that brought out, you know, and that dynamic that it then created in the group just was like this whole different experience. And we could play that same script with those exact same characters with a different group, and you are 100% going to have a completely different experience. You could have changed up the roles, played that same script with that same group of people. You'd have a completely different experience because you just don't know. Because sometimes Dan likes to be the chaos agent. Sometimes Dan just wants to try to like solve the puzzle. You know, sometimes I just like to, you know, throw fire, you know, you know what I mean? And just see what happens, you know, and it's, you know, but we've got the group for it. So it works out really well. So I will just to make it quick. The gameplay, the value for the gameplay is here if it's your thing. The value for the components is here regardless. You know, the effort. Andrew was the first one to point it out. He's so 100% correct. This is a true like labor of love, and the amount of effort, whether you like the game or not, respect the blood,
it kills every social deduction game out there.
I mean, it kind of does, but you can't. The only negative though is you can't play it casually.
Correct. You can't market this to Target. You can't market this to like, you know, big block stores and sell it next to something where you know you're gonna pick it up and look at the deck of cards and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm going over to like for a dinner party, and I'm gonna
play Blood on the Clocktower, Sex and Violets.
SECTS.
Yeah, can we clarify sects of like religion?
Yes, and not violets,
not violence.
Flowers.
Sects and violets, not sex and violence, which I think just flagged this now not friendly for kids.
I'm fine with both. But anyways, so basically this game is there's a ton of value there, but buyer beware, right?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's all. But I think most people do not buy $100 or $165 game casually.
Yes.
You know, so it's also priced in a way that the people that want it already know they want it. But if you're curious about it, there are tons of excellent podcasts and videos put out by the Pandemonium Institute that do a great job, like going into such detail of the minutia and everything, but they legitimately care. I've listened to a few of them and they're very interesting. Like I listened to it before with only had played the online version a few times and was just fascinated. And it was like, ooh. And also like, I can't wait to maybe implement some of these strategies, you know? So anyways, there's a ton of resources out there for this. But yeah, fantastic job. Whether you like the game or not, whatever you rate it, you can't just say, oh, they slapped this thing together and it's garbage. You know, because there are games that I don't like that I go, that's a really well-designed game that I just don't have fun playing.
Sure.
But this is a well-designed game that I do have a lot of fun playing. So, final rating?
Final rating.
I had a really good time. Andrew.
Yes.
Now that you've been able to grow a beard in the length of time that it's taken us to talk about this game, I know you're going to be the coldest one on this, but let's go ahead and start with your number.
Tim, how do we do final
score? Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to look to me to ask me how we do the... I mean, I could just say we do an average so we have like all four of our scores into one.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, you said I was growing a beard, so I figured I was just turning into Bob.
Turning into Bob.
I feel like my hair could have grown long enough in that time of the review.
You don't have enough piercings to be Bob.
Visible.
Okay. Also true.
Okay, I give this, and it hurts me because I don't like these games.
That's totally fine.
But like 7.5.
That's an incredibly high rating compared to what I thought you were going to give it.
Yeah.
No. Well, so I need to tip my hat in some places.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tip my hat in terms of quality. I have to tip my hat in terms of idea, like the thought that went into this. I have to tip my hat in terms of I do not like Spencer bought that Endless Winter game.
Oh, right.
And there were like 9 expansions, and he spent like 2 hours putting everything into one box. And like these guys get so much props from me. They could have milked so many expansions, and they threw so much into this game, and everything is high quality. It's a beautiful presentation. I'm bringing it down 2.5 points because number 1, you have to have a group. Number 2, you have to have a storyteller. Number 3, like it's a social deduction.
You don't like these kind of games. Yeah, totally fair.
But this game kills everything else that you bring it up to the table. And that's me saying, like, if I do like a social deduction game, Secret Hitler is my favorite.
Yep.
This completely destroys even my favorite social deduction games, just in terms of presentation. I'm not a big fan on the theme, like it's kind of generic. Demon, werewolf, bad guy, good guy. Let's shake it up a little bit.
Hitler.
But yeah, right. Something else. But what they do with it, they do a great job. So 7.5. It's the highest rating of a game that I wouldn't choose to play. Yeah, and I think that's fair to say. I tip my hat to these guys. I want to see what else they can make, because if they can make a product that fits more my style of game, I would be all about it.
Well, you're not saying anything that I think we would all be like, no, you're 100% wrong on that. Like you were just way off base. No, I mean, this does have to be your flavor, and if it's not, it's not. Yeah. But yeah, I respect the tipping, acknowledging the things it does do well. So fantastic. Jesse.
10.
That's gonna be hard.
Let's get it over with.
It's very hard for me to give anything a 10 just because of how I view things. But I think with this game, I am going to have to at least give a 9.5. My only caveats for it being a 10 are just like they've said. It is absolutely going to be group dependent. It is absolutely going to be good storyteller, and I think that those are things that you just like. For me, for something to be a perfect game, those can't be potential issues, right? Okay. You could buy this game and you could never get it played because you can't get the right group of people together.
This would be a 10 if you could change the minds of people like me and Bob.
Correct.
Right.
If that's going to be, the hang up, then it's a 9.5 out of 10. It's still an amazing game though, and still for absolutely what it is. Just fantastic.
Yep.
Dan.
Hi. I've already given my rating for this game in another video. So frequent watchers will already know what I gave this game. So unlike Andrew, I love social deduction. Yep. Also, I'm a decent human being. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Quick response. Quick diss. I got nothing. Shoot. Okay. Yeah, I am indecent.
I gave you a chance. I love social deduction games. On top of that, I love experiences. A game that we will, weeks after playing the game, be like, oh my goodness, remember when Tim and Jonathan were twins and that kind of stuff. And I love atmosphere. These are 3 things that I think are just extremely important for me, and that this game has in spades. It's insane how well it has it. I also just don't personally agree with it's group dependent, so it's that's not a 10. No game everyone likes. Sure.
Every game is kind of group dependent.
Yeah, every game is gonna have. Oh well, Andrew doesn't like worker placement, so we can't
That's a good point.
I just don't see that as that kind of thing. I get it though. It is like a niche almost. Not everyone on the planet is gonna like this game for sure. That just doesn't impact me as much. I have said in the past, though, that this is my number 1 game of all time, and this is a 10 out of 10 game.
Oh, I thought you were going to give it a 5.
Yeah,
I was way off.
I love Blood on the Clocktower, and I just want to say, Pandemonium Institute, if you're still watching this far into this video, Great job.
Hire Dan.
Yeah.
He'll work for you.
Just great job, guys. Like, I feel the passion. It's radiating from this game, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, so things that do impact my rating are, can I get it played? Is there value? And do I have fun, right? And so the negatives, because group dependent is a factor for me. And you are correct. Some games are not group dependent. And some games, I don't care. I love this game, and I'm going to push it on everybody. This is a very solid 9 for me. It's all, ever since I first played it, it has always been a 9. Seeing it, I'm like, it's still a 9. It is my most rock solid 9. Like, I think my opinion of this game would ever only go up. I don't think it would ever go down. They absolutely nailed this. This is a friggin' rock star. This is the Godzilla. This is the king of all monsters, when it does come to social deduction games. But there are social deduction games that I'm going to get played with other people that would not get played with. Mm-hmm. And that is not a negative necessarily to this or make those games better. It's just a fact. But yeah, this is a great game. If you love it, you already know you love it. But yeah.
Sure. And people can say it's hard to get played and stuff, but we've played it a metric crap ton since getting it.
We have.
Just saying.
We have. So who's good at averages?
I got it. Yeah.
So I did it, but then I saw him do it.
Yeah. So. I did it in my mind, but I just wanted to use this weak calculator to make sure I was right. And I was. So if you take all of our scores and divide by 4, because there's 4 of us here, that's how you take the average.
Yes.
You get a total score from the board game rundown. 9.
9
out
of 10.
That's terrible.
That's not a 10.
I'm so glad I can bring it down.
How did we
only humble
do a 9?
Bunch? Yeah,
only do a 9.
9.
Good Lord.
Well, that was a quick. Should we make the outro quick too, or should we?
20-minute outro.
No, thank you, Jesse, for bringing this in.
Yeah.
Dan, thanks for turning me around on this game because I was way cold on it.
The game turned you around on itself,
and I was wrong. Yeah. Well, you shine a light on it, and made me pay attention to it, and because I had dismissed this wrongly. But yeah, great game. Can't wait to play it more. Yeah. Whether Andrew's there or not.
I'll be there.
I know a large percent
Can you
of
make
viewers...
me a good guy next time? I hate being one of the 2 bad guys because I just out and like.
He plays a bad guy in real life, so he needs to play a good guy in fiction.
I don't know why we keep assaulting your character.
I want to. Yeah, it's been a beat down. 4-game beat down.
I know most viewers are probably they probably haven't played this yet. So what, are you guys excited to play it? Did this review make you lean one way or another? And what aspect of this game is most interesting to you if you played other social deduction games? Mm-hmm. I mean, again, the way the storyteller works, the way the death works, the way the gossip works, these are all new to this genre, kind of. And so I'm interested in hearing what excites you guys most if you've only played Werewolf or Town of Salem.
And you could also might be able to talk Dan into running or Jesse to running a Blood on the Clocktower online game.
Yeah,
at some
I'm not against it. Our Discord's been dead for a long time for that, but mainly just because most of us have been playing in real life.
Yeah.
And I'll probably have at least one video linked up here. We were uploading for a while our Discord games, so you can check out what a Discord game is like if you feel like it.
They were some of our highest viewed videos for a little while.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah. So.
But anyways, guys. This Odyssey has been our review of Blood on the Clocktower.
Trouble Brewing.
Yeah.
Thank you. For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
I am tired.
I'm Jesse.
Dan.
We'll see you next time.